time. Marfoogle News going live in 3.
It's so fine. I tell you what, they can't see the gray. And these people shouldn't have a single say.
All right, what is going on, guys? It is Adam and Marf, and this is Marfoogle News. We're going to go over super crazy stuff has happened today. Obviously, now the entire world, you'll see all over social media, people are talking about not only World War III, but Iran collapsing. We have, of course, the Venezuela situation, which is just explosive. And the United States has some tit-for-tat stuff going on in some opinion. We just had a second event in Portland. Now, again, a second event where somebody was trying to physically take their vehicle and put it over an enforcement officer. And that enforcement officer took action. So now Portland, think about it. Portland had the second event. Out of all the places where this could happen, that's great timing, the day after the other one. But first, I wanted to point out, I saw this right before the show, man charged with unlawful photography of Air Force Base. And you can take a guess what this person is. Again, says federal charges have been filed against a Chinese man after he was allegedly found taking illegal pictures of Whiteman Air Force Base. Now, I did not know this. I don't know if you guys remember, but I was live streaming a few years ago in Moclips, Washington. And I was actually trying to take photos from a public place of this radar dome thing. And it was before the radar dome was there. So it was just basically like this huge platform. And I thought it was a tsunami escape, like one of those 200-foot tsunami exits. And I had somebody tell me on camera, like, hey, you can't take any photos. And I'm like, BS, I'm standing on a public street taking a photo of something over there. He's like, no, you really can't. He walked me over to board and literally showed me the small print. And he's like, you can't take pictures of certain places. So, there's one thing to be a tourist or even somebody who's just covering, or a journalist like me. He said, even in that case, you could get in trouble for taking photos of something like this. In this case, we, of course, have talked about this for a long time. Now, virality has hit old clips of Nick Shirley and others talking about the certain culture of people that came over during the huge caravans, and that they weren't going to these shelters. They weren't going to the normal facilities, that they all had pre-planned trips with instructions on where to go. And of course, the news came out that right next to all of our military bases, we had essentially property bought up in mass right across the street from almost all of our freaking bases by a certain country. So it's very, very odd when we see this kind of stuff. You got to keep your eyes peeled, especially since 2026 is the year that I predict is the year that everything is going to go down. This isn't to scare people. It's not to get you to be afraid. It's something I've said for 5 or 6 years now because of the timeline of everything. So be aware. You can read the rest of the article over on marfooglenews.com. Now, before we move on, I want to make sure you guys know about EMP Shield, because I believe these devices will end up saving lives, and it will end up getting people home to their families or out to bug out. Again, this is a device that will protect your vehicles against not only an EMP strike from an adversary, but it will also protect you against a coronal mass ejection or a CME or a Carrington-level event from the sun. This is the same tech, EMP Shield, same company that is outfitting agencies like DHS, DOW, the Dempster team helping the Texas grid, Air Force, FBI, and so on. So if they're quietly, ranking up their protection, we should be too. Go to marfooglenews.com/EMP and make sure to use the code MARF, especially since we're lucky to still have this 25% off that carried over from the holidays and the $50 off with our MARF discount. All right, let's bring in my co/internet brother, Dex James. What is going on and how are you doing today?
Well, hello, Adam, and hello, Foogle fam. I'm doing just fine.
So we also have something. I'm going to cover this tweet real quick, and this is very, very odd, but a lot of people were messaging us about this. Millions and millions of people have seen this. In fact, Dex said that there were even bigger personalities than the Twitter that I have here that were posting this. Millions and millions and millions of people were talking about this today on top of what was happening in Portland. And the timing, and this is why this is really important, and this is why we need to look at if this is true or not. This was a letter that they posted, and it says that it's from the USPS, right? It says, during large-scale emergencies, epidemic, hurricanes, civil unrest, states and localities may issue curfew orders or other directives restricting travel or other commercial personnel. You can go through this entire thing again. This is strange that this is actually real. Some, of course, said that this is something where, they send it out every year. That would be weird. But we found some discrepancies here that even the community notes really aren't pointing out. The community notes on this says that they send this out a lot, or that people think that this kind of thing is sent out a lot. This seems very eerily kind of directed at what happened in 2019. It says, because state and local government restrictions do not apply to prevent postal service from reporting and performing their work. Basically, if you're stopped, it says if you're stopped, please stop, give them your identification, that you have the freedom to travel during restrictions. Now, the reason why this makes it big, and I don't know why accounts do this, I don't know why people do this, it's kind of the same thing like why people say we're trying to scare people. People do it for clout or views. With an established channel like ours that has a P score and that, our growth is actually held like a faucet, it doesn't work for us. But for somebody who just starts a brand new account and tries to put something old out as new, then this can definitely, get an account millions of views before people go, hey, this is something else. Well, this is actually real. And a lot of people are saying that this was actually, they changed the date from back in 2019, which actually kind of makes sense here in a second. But then the actual community note says that this is real and that this kind of thing gets sent out all the time. But I don't think that the community notes are actually looking at the very specific instructions here. This totally looks like it's from 2019. Now, Doug A. Tolino, we looked up Doug A. Tolino. This is actually dated January 5th, 2026, and it is not actually dated that. Somebody did that. You can kind of tell, I think it was just like pasted on there very, very well. You can almost see that there's a weird kind of fuzz around it. But again, Doug A. Tolino, Dex, you actually looked that up, and does he work there as of January?
No, he's not the Postmaster General. He was gone July 14th, 2025. It's now supposed to be David P. Steiner, who succeeded him.
So it makes sense that they would put this because somebody probably just simply Googled, like, who's the person who would sign this now? They looked at the old 2019 letter. They said, who is the person that is doing that position now? And Google probably hasn't updated to Peter or that person, or has a lot of information attached to Doug. So they did that not knowing he hasn't worked there for 5 months. So I think it's fake, but around the timing, this is scary because we have a second event in Portland. Dex, do you want to talk about what happened here? And this is involving DHS and border agents.
Exactly. So U.S. Customs Border Protection agents took defensive actions, as how they'll refer to it, against two people in Portland Thursday afternoon, according to the FBI and the local city officials. The Portland police said their officers were called in, where they said they confirmed the federal agents were involved in a shooting. The condition of the two people was not immediately known yet. It may be updated on different articles at this point, but they said it happened around 2:24. But the main thing is that this, again, is another event like that. Now, one of the other narratives I read said that they were going in after Trenda Aragua person, and the two people they were going after were the ones they engaged in the gunfire with.
The passenger.
So, yeah. At least one of them, if not both of them, were part of the people they were going for, and they came after them with the vehicle. So that's how they exchanged or used the defensive action. So,
and it wasn't a gang member. They say it was a prostitute that essentially that she was part of the prostitution ring of that gang. That's right. What I read.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah.
That sounds a little bit more detailed than what I saw. So yeah. So anyway, again, all this is kind of fresh and new. We'll probably get more, but the main point is it's almost a similar incident to what happened in Minneapolis, and it's just a day later, and everything's ramping up in Minneapolis, continuing to ramp up in Minneapolis, and this is just going to throw more fuel on the fire.
And out of all the places for it to happen, this is Portland. If you guys don't know Portland, I just suggested you guys watch Kevin Dahlgren's Twitter account, because he goes and looks at the homeless situation, the downtown Portland area. My sister used to live in Vancouver, right on the other side of the bridge from there, and I visited Portland, a good amount, not only as a teenager and as somebody who drove down to California a few times. And during that period, and I remember it specifically from visiting my sister, that Portland was, in my opinion, it was really pretty back then. He showed these areas that I remembered and had in my memory as like really pretty, as basically tent cities. So it's nothing strange to me. I'm in Seattle, so I'm in the other area. If we have one of these events happen tomorrow here, that would be pretty suspicious. It would be so suspicious that I would think, okay, this is, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me, right? There are already people before this second event saying that first event, that they have questions about that as well. But, somebody perished in that event. It's kind of crazy to think that, this is all happening. That first event, there's lots of details coming out about that, that they were filming that day, that they were driving around basically trying to do this. Whereas I see articles all over the feed, Google tries to feed you stuff. I saw Google, I saw on DuckDuckGo, I saw all of these things trying to feed this story, a main kind of just biography of her, and saying that her mother, it doesn't point out any of this other stuff that others have covered. It points out that her mother says she swears that she wasn't even protesting. And I don't know if that's just an off-brand article that got virality, but it's like, that's very, very deceptive writing, if you ask me, because if others are covering these other facts, then why aren't those in there? It's just how they portray these different events and shape them. And here's the thing. I was just talking about this last night. One person will get that article, somebody on the right will get the other one. And you have two different ones. And I point out Google because I actually have multiple. I have an account that is mostly, I try to keep it left because I told you guys, I don't like that the algorithm only feeds me right news. I would rather have both sides of the story. I don't want to be fed BS that is an echo chamber. It is how you try to combat it. In fact, you can start a brand new account and make sure you don't do anything, type in anything. I mean, anything that is leaning to one side or the other. Don't view stories, don't do anything. And that's what I've had for years. I've had accounts that I don't view anything even. I look at the feed, the suggested, everything else. And some of them I even make it so it thinks I'm on that side or that side. And it served me that story instead of serving me the story that they were basically out all day trying to do it. So it's very interesting to me how this is being divided. It's social media destruction, chaos, and manipulation. All right, and then we have, of course, Kristi Noem threatens to send more ICE agents to Minneapolis as protests grow. As you know, we covered that Tim Walz was saying that he wanted to even send in National Guard yesterday to get ICE agents out. That we actually labeled our show, this could equal civil war, because that is a technical situation there. You have the state with weapons trying to get the federal government with weapons out. That's civil war. I mean, if anything popped off there, that could equal that. So this is a very scary time, especially when you look at what's going on in Iran, what happened with Venezuela, what is happening with Cuba, what is happening with China, what is happening with Greenland. Obviously, Venezuela triggered something. We're going to talk about Greenland on our next show. It is very, very important stuff. Dex, go ahead.
Yeah, and real quick, I just found this in the last couple hours. So Tim Walz announced that he did authorize the National Guard to be staged and ready now to support local and state law enforcement in protecting critical infrastructure and maintaining public safety.
Yeah, something very, very fishy is going on here. Behind the scenes, not just the public narrative of fishiness. I'm telling you that there is something big happening right under our noses. If you think that Iran thing is organic, I would say, there could be parts from how it's happening, or it might be opportunistic. The timing of it happening at the same time as Venezuela, the timing of the Greenland stuff, the timing of all of this, it is very fishy. And fishy is not good when we're looking at a potential World War III this year. So we'll talk about that over on Marfoogle TV. Remember, you have a full bibliography, a full source list on marfooglenews.com. In fact, when you go there, you will see that we have a list of all of that. I just want you guys to appreciate, for today's show, I used this AI Marf for the cover. All right? All right. Have a good night, guys. Be safe, be prepared. And if you are in the chat, stay there. You'll be ported right over to Marfoogle TV. If you are watching the replay, all you have to do is click here. We'll see you in a few minutes over on our main show, over on our sister channel, Marfoogle TV.
Between the lines, the thing that is so good, that is so fine. I tell you what, they can't see the gray. And these people shouldn't have a single say. How you plan, how you pray, do it all by yourself. Don't let anybody stop you. Your instincts got you. Don't let it go. I've talked to military. They say it's gonna be scary, but we still have to stand up.